The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. How about those California wildfires? Trump tweeted over the weekend, drawing the ire of the left, Governor Moonbeam. Bad environmental laws are magnifying California's horrific wildfires by not allowing massive amounts of readily available water to be properly utilized. Tree clear to stop fire spreading. And he also tweeted that, quote-unquote, vast amounts of water were being diverted into the Pacific Ocean that could be used for fires, farming, and everything else. There is some truth to what the president is saying about California's wacky environmental policies exacerbating these wildfires. Wall Street Journal reporting nearly 130 million trees in California have died from drought, providing fuel for fast-spreading fires, and about half of the state's 33 million acres of forest land needs restoration. There has been reports about the tension between sensible conservation policy and environmental extremism. The Little Hoover Commission reporting a century of fire suppression remains firmly entrenched within federal and state firefighting agencies and has left forest floors deep in flammable ground cover. Talking specifically about plans for ridding the forest of that dense ground cover, clashing with the interests of the wacky environmental left. For more on this topic and other matters economic, we're pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist and chief economist for CNN. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
This is a sort of a center cut for you, right? This is a pitch that you would like to take a swing at, I'm sure, environmental policy and the implications of it in the real world.
Well, it is true that, by the way, I'm not an expert on forest fires, but it is true that, they had these droughts in California a few years ago, and then they had these very, very heavy rains, and because of environmental laws, they couldn't build the reservoirs and so on to capture the water. And so what happened was, tens of millions of gallons of water was just flushed into the ocean. By the way, I would have thought that was a problem, Dan, for the climate change people, because I thought they were worried about the rise in the oceans.
Right, yeah, right.
But anyway, so they're just flushing all this extra water into the ocean, and that could, because they don't have the reservoirs and so on, it makes them more vulnerable to these forest fires. But it's a tragedy what's happening out there. And, there used to be, I can't quite figure out what the left's position is on forest fire, because remember, 10 or 15 years ago, their policy was let it burn, right? This is just nature playing its course. We shouldn't interfere with these forest fires, just let it burn. And, of course, you had millions of acres of trees in Yosemite and other national parks that burned down because, we can't possibly interfere with nature. Now, we're seeing the devastation from that.
So last night, President Trump met with a number of CEOs, I think 15
yes.
top executives from the country's largest companies. What was the message? Why did he have this kumbaya gathering?
Well, I think it's partly to take a victory lap. Donald Trump likes to take victory laps, and why not? I mean, we've got an economy that is soaring right now. I mean, literally, this economy is as strong as we've seen an economy in the United States for 25 years. And, we're in the single largest construction boom in the history of the country. Did you know that?
No.
Never before have we had construction like what's going on today. Do you have how is it going in Chicago? I mean, I was there a couple months ago. I saw cranes all over the place.
Well, yeah, we have 7 cranes up right now.
We're building a lot of rental units no one is going to rent.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that.
Oh.
But but it's happening everywhere. It's happening in Nashville. I was in Boston last week. It's happening in Los Angeles. It's happening in Pittsburgh. I mean, all over the country, everywhere I go, it's just this building boom, and there's optimism out there. So, Amy, to answer your questions, why did he have this meeting with these CEOs? It's because he wanted to kind of crow about how well they're doing. Plus, he likes to take the advice of major CEOs. Now, the thing that made me a little bit nervous about that meeting was, remember, he had this business council a couple of years ago with people like Schwartzman and some of the tech people, the tech leaders. And at the first sign of any trouble with Trump, they went out, they had these press conferences denouncing him and dropping off the council. So I hope these are people that will kind of stick with Trump through thick or thin and won't run for the high
yeah,
grass.
right. Corporate CEOs? Are you kidding
That's
me?
rather naive.
Oh, my
That's
God.
what CEOs do, right?
Oh, hey, where'd all my corporate
sorry.
CEOs go? They're the first ones to flee at the sign of fight. Oh, my goodness.
Okay, Dan, you got me.
Oh, boy, looking for courage from corporate CEOs. Now I've heard everything.
That doesn't happen a lot.
All right, now I'm going to play the role of pessimist, okay?
You've never been a pessimist.
And
Come on, do not rain on my parade.
No. I know we need to save the rain for California. Ramesh Panaruru makes the point that President Trump inherited an expanding economy. There have been policies that have been implemented that should make it modestly stronger over time, he says. But that balance could change if the president doesn't restrain his worst impulses, including trade policy and his on-again, off-again penchant for intervening in market, like to AL coal-fired power plants or particularly sensitive industries like Harley, sensitive businesses like Harley. So why should we not temper our exuberance? Why should we be as enthusiastic as you are?
Did Ramesh really say that Trump inherited a growing economy?
He did. He had inherited an expanding economy. That's what he writes. He goes.
No,
he goes through.
I'm friends with Ramesh. I'm surprised he'd say something like that. I mean, the economy grew at 1.5% the last year Obama was in office. The economy was retreating. It was not moving forward. We were on the precipice of a recession. I mean, 1.5% growth is pathetic. Now, 18 months later, we have 4% growth. I mean, that's a pretty amazing. And I'll have to show you my little, slides. My book is coming out, by the way, in 3 weeks. Thanks so much for mentioning it.
Yes.
It's called Trumponomics. It's a book that Art Laffer and I wrote about, our experiences working with Trump and why this stuff is working. But we have all these charts in there, and I'm going to send them to you so you can put it on your website. It just shows that what happened the day after the election. What happened to consumer confidence? Through the roof. What happened to small business confidence? Through the roof. What happened to the stock market? Through the roof. There was just this burst of confidence and optimism that really started literally the day after the election, and it hasn't receded. I mean, the latest poll has, let me give you one. 3 out of 10 Americans rated the economy good or great when Ramesh was saying how well the economy was doing. 3 out of 10 said good or great. You know what the number is today?
What?
Almost 7 out of 10.
Oh.
That's a phenomenal improvement in the way that Americans view the economy, because they see it every day. They see the cranes. They see the jobs. I mean, everywhere I go. Last week, I'm giving a talk to the manufacturing group, about the good news in the economy. These guys are yelling at me. You know why they were yelling at me?
Why?
Tariffs?
Because they can't find workers.
Oh, that too.
They're like, what? How can we expand? We have more orders than we can fill. Where are all the workers? You got to get more workers in this country.
I have never
that's
seen
a pretty
more
good problem to have.
Yeah. I've never seen more help wanted signs in my life.
6.5 million unfilled jobs?
I'm in Maine right now, and I gave a talk at the Maine Heritage Policy Centers. Believe it or not, Maine has a conservative policy. Anyway, a bunch of the businessmen and women came to this thing. And there's one guy, he runs go-kart tracks. Do you still have go-kart tracks in Chicago? They had one when I was a kid.
Yeah, the one in Palatine on Rand Road closed down, so I'm out. I know of no go-kart tracks. I'm sure they're out there.
I loved go-karts when I was a kid. I just had so much fun. And this guy says, I had to shut down 3 of my tracks last week because I don't have the workers to just.
Sad.
I'm like, what a great summer job to work in a go-kart, but they don't have people to film. And I hear that all of the time. I mean, it's a really amazing thing. And the latest news for the month of let's see, we just finished the month of July, right?
Yes.
Is the economy in July grew at 4%. So this isn't receding. If anything, it's picking up. The only thing that's holding back things, we need more workers. We need to get these teenagers off their butts and out there working.
I know. There's so many teenagers sitting at home playing Fortnite and not out there.
That's what my kids are doing.
No,
I cannot get them off.
Me neither,
we talk
Stephen.
about all these addictions. The worst
addictive.
addiction in America is these addictions, these idiotic, computer games.
What are you talking about?
300 billion in the first 3 months.
Fortnite is, but the colleges are offering scholarship money for video game impresarios now. So there might be some money in for you.
If you can make the games, I'm talking about that's, by the way, one of the fastest growing professions in America is people who invent these computer games.
I know. And if they're not playing the computer games, Stephen, they're watching on YouTube people who are winning and succeeding.
That's even worse.
Battle
Amy,
Royale.
this
Oh my
is
gosh.
unbelievable. At least, now they're not even playing the games. They're watching on TV other people playing the games.
Steve, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about the top topic in a recent Investors Business Daily column I saw from you on the reduction in the Obama-era cafe standards and what that means. That means for the economy.
Awesome. I mean, so here I did the analysis in my column this week. So the difference between the Trump cafe standards and the Obama cafe standards, because the left has totally blown a gasket on this. Oh, it's going to be the end of the planet as we know it if we do this. So the difference in the year 2100 in temperatures between these two scenarios, the strict rules that Obama put in place, which the car industry can't meet, and the Trump ones. Guess how much Celsius degrees difference there will be in the global temperature in 2100. Just take a wild guess.
A degree.
What degree?
1 degree.
Did you say 1 degree?
I did.
Yeah, he did.
You're off by about a factor of 100. It's closer to 0.02 degrees in the year 2100.
Okay. Well, I mean, and obviously we know the accuracy
Trump
of these
is
models.
Destroying the planet. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And look, the truth is, the left has been very, when they're being honest about this, the only way that these really strict, I call draconian standards that the Obama administration has set up by the year 2025, 26 is for everybody to buy an electric car. So if you got $40,000, $50,000 to buy an electric car, you'll be fine. But there's no these standards are just not reachable unless you want to pay $100,000 for a car. So it's going to make autos much more expensive. And this was a very and by the way, we believe in consumer choice, right? You should be able to buy a car, whatever car you want to. The left says, oh, this will be good for consumers. Well, if it's good for consumers, why do you have to mandate them to buy these damn cars?
Yeah, and then subsidize them too while you're in addition to the
exactly.
mandate.
And then they're going to pay you $3,000 if you buy. This is the giveaway policy for Elon Musk, right?
Exactly.
You get, what is it now? I think you get $3,500 or something. It's a credit or
it's
something.
More than that.
I
think it's more like $6,000. And then there's state level subsidies too. I mean, it's a joke. Elon Musk is the Harold Hill of the 21st century. There's no question about it. He is Steve Moore, the Wall Street Journal columnist, CNN chief economist. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Have a great week, guys. Take care.
Thanks.
You too. And he joined us on our Battle Royale turnkeyit.com line, whatever it is.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.